Welcome back to Dad Space, the podcast for dads by dads. My name is Dave and I'm a dad. I'm happy to be here with you. And whether or not you're a dad, that's not going to keep you out the door. We're not going to block you. You can come on in anytime. And to the 67% of the audience that listen to the show that are female, wow. Thank you for coming to Dad Space. Whatever you're finding here in value, we want to do more of that, and I'd love to hear from you. As a listener of this show, dadspace.ca is the website. You can click right there. There's a little speak pipe. Leave me a message. I want to hear your beautiful voice. You're listening to my voice. I would much prefer to listen to yours. Over at dadspace.ca. Come on. God, you can do this. You got time. Go to dadspace.ca. Leave me a voice message. I'd love to hear your voice. Thank you for listening. I want to talk to you about something that I saw on my TikTok, because again, I have a TikTok for Dad Space, and as I do this, I get all this dad stuff comes to me all the time. It's like it knows me. And one thing that really caught my attention was a post that came to me recently on TikTok, and it was this little girl running around the yard at night, and dad's kind of videotaping her running back and forth and doing kid stuff, all that good stuff. And the clip that what was on the screen that really caught my attention was just this little call out that said, "I'm a dad before an employee. I can find another job. I can only raise my daughter once. I'm a dad before I'm an employee. I can find another job anytime. I can only raise my daughter, my son, once." And I think had I seen that post 20, 30 years ago, it might have helped shaped a little bit of my direction as a dad. There was no TikTok back then. There wasn't a lot of things back then that we take for granted today. And 30 years ago, there wasn't a podcast, so you and I wouldn't be doing this at all. And what I would love to do with this show is to put out things for you, if you're a new dad, that give you some perspective. So that 20, 30 years from today, you're not looking back on posts going, well, where was the person back then that I needed to refocus my attention on my kids, on my family? I go from job to job to job, and I never really get to focus on my kids. And I wish there was somebody with a podcast, and his name was Dave, and a podcast called Dad Space that would help me to focus my attention on what's really important in life. And that's what we want to talk about here on the podcast. So thanks for listening. One thing about life that it really resonates with me is the fact that jobs are going to come and go in your life. But your family is the one role that outlasts all of the jobs you'll ever do. All of the promotions, all the extra hours at work, all of the things that tie up your time, all of these things, your jobs are going to eat away at your family, eat away at your time with your family. But the jobs aren't permanent. The role you start with in your 20s is probably most likely not going to be the job you have in your 60s. Jobs are going to come and go. Your priorities are going to change. Your skill sets are going to change. Your interests will change. I look back over my career, and I've done a lot of different things. A lot of different things. And it's just interesting how in the moment those things really mattered. But when those jobs ended or life changed, those jobs became a distant memory, and all of the time, effort, and energy that was poured into those things that were valuable in the moment, those jobs, those titles, are gone. And as a dad, you always come home, and sometimes you come home to a sleeping household because you've worked a long shift or you've driven long miles to get to work and get home again. and you roll into the house and the house is quiet. The kids have had a whole life that day. Your partner is tired and exhausted because they've had to do everything on their own because you're not around. You roll in, you unpack your lunch box, whatever's left, you let the dog out one more time, and you crawl into bed. Just to get up at the alarm, and you got to do it all again tomorrow. Kiss the kids while they're sleeping in bed, and you leave. You're gone for the day again because of the job. And now you can hide that and say, well, I'm there providing for my family. Well, true. But at the end of the day, when you haven't seen your children for days, the value of that job needs to be looked at. Your boss's commitment to you is not the same commitment that your kids have to you and you should have to your family. There's a difference there. And I'm talking to myself that as dads, sometimes we pick the thing that lights us up, which could be our job and having a title and having responsibility and supporting our family. Those are all things that are very important. But to what end? And to whose expense? In this episode, I wanted to focus on some uncomfortable truths around work and balance with your family and time. The years when your kids need you the most are also the years that you're most likely going to be grinding hardest at work. And how do you balance being present now while still providing for the future? I got some actionable strategies that I really want to help you to reprioritize. No guilt here, but I wanted to share some ideas with you on how you can structure and realize the importance of your time with your kids and your partner. So let's jump into this. First, let's start with a reality check. Time is a thief. The longer you're a dad, the more you're going to realize this. Time is your enemy. Time steals from you all the time. It is like a shoplifter in your store, just carrying stuff out the front door. Nobody's stopping them. Time steals from you every day. From scrolling your phone, watching movies, sporting events, hanging out with the boys, hiding in the garage. Whatever it is, time can steal from you often. And the paradox of fatherhood is we spend more time at work than with our own kids during their formative years. And a stat, and I have a link for this in the show notes, the average dad spends 37 minutes per day in quality time with their kids. 37 minutes of directed time with their kids. How many minutes a day do you spend with your kids? 37 minutes. Quality time. That's not looking over their heads to watch football while they're playing in front of you. This is dedicated time for your kids. Think about those school events or music recitals or sports activities or whatever, dance recitals, something. Taekwondo, belt level upgrades, whatever it is. Think about something that you missed recently because you work late, you had a meeting, you couldn't get time off, there was something else occupying your time and you couldn't be there. How many of these events do you miss on a regular basis as a dad? And how do you feel? I can remember, because I worked 2+ hours from my house. So I'm leaving the house at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and I'm getting home at 7, 8 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday, and then still being on call on the weekends, where my kids would have birthday parties or my kids would have things and events, and I couldn't be there because I was in the car and I was driving. I was the hero because I was bringing in some pretty good money, but I didn't get to enjoy it with my kids. They had great Christmases. We didn't have to worry at the grocery store. We can put whatever we wanted in the buggy. No problem. We're fine. We have a great income coming in. But I was exhausted. I didn't have time for them. I was stressed out from driving so much. And I was wrestling with being there and being present while still running on very little sleep and just being exhausted all the time. So what have you missed? What have you given up? And how is time stealing things from you? And have you lost control of your calendar and what you can do in life? Time is your enemy. It's time to address it and stop letting it be a shoplifter in your life. Confront it, stop it, and focus on that. Don't let time run out the front door with all of your best. Time is a thief. Another reality check for you is that your work is never going to love you back. Somebody said to me, one of my jobs, they said, stick your hand in a bucket of water and pull it out. And the hole that's left behind is how much they're going to think of you once you're gone. My current role where I work nights, it's kind of like a warehouse setting. I can think of 40 people, maybe 30 people who have come and gone in the 5 years that I've been there. Some of them I struggle to even remember their name, and I used to work beside them all the time. But once they're gone, out of sight, out of mind, they just fade into the past, and you're like, what was the name of the buddy, the guy that did the thing with the thing? I don't even remember their names. Work's never going to love you back. As much as they give you these awards and they thank you, and there's the company staff party and Christmas party, and you can win Employee of the Month. All those things have happened to me. And all those leaders that really poured into me and were there to support me, they're all gone. They're all gone. I never hear from them. They don't care about me. And I'm pretty sure I'm a distant memory for them as well. Companies lay off loyal employees. It happens all the time. I've been handed the box many times. One of my companies I work for, I went from being in a retail setting to being into the office, promoted within the office to being a manager. And then our competition, our direct competition, people left that company to come to ours, and they brought all their friends with them, replacing the people that were currently in their roles with somebody else. And I was handed a box. Here you go. Contents of your desk. Have a good day. This is the company I poured my life into. This is the company that I worked extra. One of the companies, we were doing a big project. They wouldn't give me a budget to get a hotel room. It was out of town. So in the winter, okay, follow me here, I slept in my van for work because I had to do a project and it was due the next day, and I had to be there in the morning, and there wasn't enough time to drive home, sleep, and come back. So I just stayed there and froze my butt off in this van, shivering all night, the worst sleep of my life, so that I could do it for the company. And you know what? 6 months later, they let me go because they found somebody else who could do my job cheaper. Nice, right? Your company will never love you back. They may appreciate you, but they don't love you. Don't get that confused. Your family loves you. Your job doesn't. Companies lay off employees all the time. Even some of the best employees get laid off. Kids, on the other hand, will never forget a broken promise. They won't. So we need to reframe the idea of providing. Financial stability matters, but emotional presence is irreplaceable. If I were to put this in front of you and ask you to do this, I would be interested to hear your response. I would like to know what you think your kids would say about you when you're not here. Now, you can do this in the context of you're just out of the room or you're not on this planet any longer. What do you want your kids to say about you? For them to write your eulogy, what would they say? Today. Unedited. First write what they wrote down. Boom. What would they say about you? Are you proud of what your kids would say, or are you horrified by the thought of your kids writing your eulogy for you? I'm interested to hear this. dadspace.ca, let me know. Your work will never love you back. And your kids will never forget you turning your back on them. So, what's your priority in that? So what are some practical ways to reprioritize without quitting your job? I got a few to think about. How about the 5-minute rule? For you as a dad. Do something smart. Start small. Ask each kid in your house one intentional question daily. Maybe it's at bedtime when you're tucking them in. Ask them something like, what made you proud today? Or, what's something new that you learned today that you didn't know yesterday? What's one thing that made you super happy today? See, there's intention in those questions. It's causing you to have conversation, which is back to that 37 minutes we talked about earlier. It's extending that 37 minutes. It's intention. It's questions that are designed to create conversation and thought. And presence. You're there with them. You're in the moment. So spend 5 minutes with your kids every day. Tack that on to, not in place of, the 37 minutes that you generally spend. And start small. I'm asking for 5 minutes a day. Please. With your kids. To find out what life means to them in the moment. And do something about that time. You can also do calendar blocking. Treat family time like a meeting with your boss. Non-negotiable. Nobody gets into this calendar space. It's tied up with a meeting with the boss. If somebody else walked into your office and said, I need to meet you in 5 minutes, you're like, you look at your calendar like, no, I'm meeting the owner of the company in 5 minutes. There's no way I'm going to miss that meeting. Why do you have the opposite response when somebody looks at you and says, hey, Parker, can you work the weekend? And you look at your calendar and it says kid's birthday party, sporting event. Yeah, sure, I can work. Why is it different for your kids and your family than it is for your boss? You can also delegate or eliminate. 2 choices. Look at your tasks. Look at things that fill up your day. What can you give away? What can you automate? Or what can you just drop? Because it's low value work. It doesn't mean nothing to you. Put it this way. You have a yard to mow. They've got to cut the grass. There's a neighbor kid who lives next to you, and for $10, he'll come to your house once a week and cut your grass for you, $40 a month. It takes you 2 hours to cut the grass. $10, that's $5 an hour for me to pay my neighbor's kid to come cut my grass. And what could I do with those 2 hours a week? I could spend it with my kids. I could spend it with my partner. And I'm giving a neighbor kid a job and some money to spend at the store. Eliminate things that do not bring value to you. Eliminate work that doesn't add any value. And invest what you have in where you can so that it creates space for you. The richest people in life use money to gain back time, not to buy new things, to gain back time. That's where the riches are, in time. And for you as a dad, take the money and invest it in other people to give you back your time. If it's not cutting the grass, maybe it's washing your car, or it's walking the dog, I don't know, whatever it is, there's something that you do during the week that eats away at your time. And if you could offload it or just stop doing it altogether, then maybe, just maybe, you could gain back some more time and add more than 37 minutes of structured time with your kids per day. Maybe that's the answer. Something small. Delegate or eliminate. And the last part around these reprioritizing without quitting your job tasks that you could do is set yourself a tech boundary. No phones during meal or bedtime. That's it. At all. Nothing. Phones go away. No television during our kids' evening routine. Don't spend the weekend binging TV. Don't spend the weekend playing your games. Like, what are you doing? Your house will be empty one day. My house is empty. You're not getting this time back. Set your boundaries, stick to them, and prioritize your family. That's how you can reprioritize without quitting your job. The next part is, I'm going to challenge you to be the example that you want to set. Your kids are sponges. They soak it all in. Kids mimic what they see. If you're always stressed out about work, they'll learn to equate success with burnout. Vulnerability always wins. When you admit when you're tired or wrong, it teaches resilience. What's the difference between legacy and LinkedIn? Your kids will not care about your job title or your resume, your awards, your promotions. They'll remember how you made them feel. Your LinkedIn bio is not your legacy. Your legacy will be sitting in that funeral home one day with their families celebrating your life. And I can pretty well guarantee your boss is not going to be there. The battle between legacy and LinkedIn. Where's your priorities? What's your priority for you and for your family? How about a challenge? Can I put a challenge in front of you? One dad to another? This week, coming up, or whenever, start this week. I want you to sacrifice one work task and replace it with one family moment. Here you go. Example. I'm going to leave work on time, because I never leave on time. I'm going to leave on time Monday night, and I'm going to take my son out to Dairy Queen. That's it. We're not talking about a tropical vacation. We're not talking about Walt Disney World. We're talking about ice cream with your son. I'm going to take my daughter down to the park and let her swing on the swings until she's exhausted. That's it. I'm going to purposely make a decision to forego what I naturally do to start a new trend, a new thing, and replace an old behavior with a new behavior until that behavior becomes the main one. Growing up for me, every Friday night was a dinner out at a restaurant and grocery shopping. And I got a toy. I got a Hot Wheels car. That was me growing up in the 70s. That was what I got every Friday. I knew when I came home from school Friday after school, I already knew that we're going out for dinner. that we're not having leftovers, thank goodness, and that I'm getting a toy car tonight. I already knew that before I even opened the front door coming home from school. It was routine, and it happened every week. The same thing all the time. My dad made priority to make Fridays always going out for dinner. My mom didn't have to cook. Again, no leftovers, big win. And I got a toy car and grocery shopping done all the same night. That was common. What's common for you? Rolling in at midnight because you worked a double shift and you didn't see your kids today? Come on. Like, there's things we can do. I get you want to provide for your family. I know what that feels like. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a day when you're going to roll into the house after a double shift and there's nobody here. Just remember that. Sacrifice one work task for a family moment. And long term, I want you to plan a quarterly dad audit to look at your work-life balance. What's out of alignment? What can you fix? What are you ignoring? Where are you lazy? And what can you do about it? So quarterly, 4 times a year, every season, if you're in the seasonal states, Canada, spring, summer, winter, fall, you're going to do an audit and go, how am I doing? And you're going to ask somebody for advice and for their thoughts. Your partner would be a great place to start. Ask your kids, how am I doing? That's a long-term plan. A lot of dads wrestle with guilt and shame that I'm not home enough. My kids grew up too fast. I didn't put enough time into them. And I wish I had done more. There's a lot of would've, should've, could've's that we as dads wrestle with as our kids get older. So I'm saying to you as a new dad listening and your kids are small, don't wait. And don't think that you're immune to this, because you're not. We're very selfish people at the core. We do care about ourselves. We do care about our ego. We care about our promotion of life, and we care about being successful. But the only thing our kids care about is having you be there for them. They don't understand all the other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Where daddy goes at during the day and why he works so much and why is he always so tired? Why is he so grumpy? Well, dad's worked 60, 70 hours this week and he's exhausted all the time and he's not taking care of himself physically. He's not eating well and he's not sleeping. He's stressed out. He's got high blood pressure because he just takes the world on. This guilt and shame is something that we can address by just how we live our life and how we set an example for our kids. I want you to make small, realistic changes to prevent overwhelm. And I would love for you to share your struggles with somebody in your world. Somebody close to you that you trust. Could be Stan at lunch, on the job site. It could be Stan. If you know Stan really well, great, then talk to Stan. If you don't have somebody like that in your life, then you need to find somebody in community. I'm hoping this podcast is not just a one-way conversation where you just hear this guy named Dave talk to you about being a dad, but that you have somebody that you feel like you could actually talk to and reach out to. And that's why I have my Dad Space website. I would love to talk to you. Find community. Don't do this alone. Don't be a dad by yourself. No dad should try to be a dad by themselves. You're not going to do it well. You're going to get exhausted and you're going to give up. You're just going to be like, what is going on? Do life in community. A man's greatest achievement isn't the size of his paycheck. It's the depth of his relationships and the love of his family. So some stuff for you to do, some homework. Go check out dadspace.ca. And come back for the next episode. If you found value in the show, there's like over 170 episodes of Dad Space here for you. Guests have come on to share their story, resources for you. And I want this to be a place for you that's a space dedicated for you, a retreat, where you're not going to be preached at, but encouraged and challenged to think about life a little differently than you have been. We're going to say stuff on this podcast that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And we're going to challenge you to be a better person in the process. If you become better as a result of what we do on Dad Space, then the world's a better place and the podcast is meaningful and all of this makes sense. There's a reason. If you don't act on any of these things, if you don't put them into practice and you don't do anything with the information, then all of this just falls flat. There's really no purpose to this. So my encouragement for you is to do one tiny step today. Go sit on the side of the bed. Ask your kids how their day's been, what they're proud of, what they've learned, how they're different. And start there. Take that 37 minutes of time that most dads spend and make it longer. Give away something that you don't need to do to create time in your space and in your life so that you can invest that time somewhere else. Mowing the lawn doesn't care who mows it, as long as the lawn gets mowed. So you don't have to be the person to do that. You can hire somebody to do that. And you can take that time that you would spend on that other thing and invest it where it matters the most, on those eyeballs staring at you when you come through the door. Your kids need you. Your partner needs you. We need you. Thank you for being part of Dad Space. I'd love to hear your thoughts. dadspace.ca. Hey, thanks for listening to Dad Space. Thanks for hanging out to the end of the podcast. That's a great sign to wherever you're listening to this podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, fill in the blank, that this was a good podcast to send people to. So simply by listening to this point of the podcast, you're helping the show grow. So good on you. Thanks for helping us grow Dad Space. If you want to help us fill our cups over at Dad Space, head over to dadspace.ca. dadspace.ca, simple website, right? dadspace.ca. You can fill up our coffee cup, which helps us then to keep moving forward with the podcast, and use our Buy Me a Coffee link over at dadspace.ca. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for coming back. And thank you for sharing, because the more people, more dads we can help, the better. We're all here to help each other grow in community. That's what it's all about. And without you, podcast is pointless. There's no reason to do any of this. So you being here means everything. See you at dadspace.ca. Take care.